everybody, today we're going to be looking at another character from the Bible who is central to the Easter story. So Ben looked at Judas last week and today we're going to be looking at Mary Magdalene. So Mary Magdalene was a true follower and friend of Jesus. She lived in a town called Magdala, which was 120 miles from Jerusalem, and it was on the shores of Lake Galilee. She was a woman with a past and is often surrounded by controversy today. So Mary Magdalene had 7 demons, and possibly they manifested themselves in odd and very self-destructive behaviour. She must have been very, very scared and lonely. In Mark 16 verse 9, we know for sure that Jesus healed and freed her by casting out the 7 demons from her. As a result of this healing, she chose to follow Jesus and travelled with him and his 12 disciples. She was never judged by Jesus or the disciples. They accepted her for who she was. And I'd just like to ask you a question now, really, for you to think about this, for us all to think about it. When was the last time that we judged somebody? So we do this probably most of the time without knowing it, and we do it by somebody's appearance or how they talk or where they're from, what they look like, maybe the stories that we've heard about them or their past. I'm certainly guilty of it, and I know that most of us do this quite regularly without probably even thinking about it. So when was the last time you judged somebody? And we'll come back to that later. The following clip is from The Chosen, and it shows how Mary Magdalene was accepted as a true follower of Jesus and a friend. Hope you enjoy the clip.
Been a long time of sowing, but the fields are ripe for harvest.
And so it's time.
Let's go.
Yes! Throw me like a stone in the water, watch the mud rise up. Dress me like a lamb for the slaughter, pour me in your cup. Should've known we'd bring trouble, trouble gonna find you here. Trouble. Trouble. Trouble.
Luke records that Mary sat at Jesus' feet and heard his word at a time when it wasn't traditional for women to be taught, especially by a highly regarded man. Mary became a follower of Jesus by spending time with him, listening and watching him. Mary followed Jesus from Galilee and served alongside him. She cared for the 12 disciples' needs and Jesus' needs out of her own means. This is in Luke 8 verse 3. The Bible says that Mary Magdalene was present at the 2 most important moments in the story of Jesus, the crucifixion and the resurrection. Jesus had a vision for women that was radically different from the world they had grown up in. In Matthew 27 verse 55, Mary, Jesus' mother, Mary Magdalene and Mary, mother of James and Joseph, were there, the 3 Marys, watching from a distance. The male disciples had scattered. These women found courage and commitment to wait at the cross. They faithfully stayed through the crucifixion and then followed his body to the tomb to see where he was laid. In Matthew 27 verse 61, Mary Magdalene and Mary, Jesus' auntie, were sitting opposite the tomb where he had been laid. After Sabbath at dawn, they went to look at the tomb. There was a violent earthquake. The angel said to the women, "Do not be afraid, for I know you are looking for Jesus. He is not here. He is risen, just as he has said." The women hurried away from the tomb, afraid yet joy and ran to tell the disciples. Suddenly Jesus met them. "Greetings," he said. In Matthew 28 verse 9, they came to him, clasped his feet and worshipped him. Jesus said, "Do not be afraid. Go and tell my brothers to go to Galilee, and they will see me there." Mary was the first to witness the resurrection, the one who Jesus told, "Go and tell the boys what's happened." Despite knowing that women's words were not even accepted in a court of law, Jesus chose a woman to deliver this amazing news. God has a way of using those the world calls nobodies. Mary Magdalene was committed to Jesus, faithful. She sought him first in all things, and she was obedient and did what was asked of her. Going back to the question that I asked at the beginning of this talk, the question was maybe to think of when you judged someone and got it really wrong, and also think about how maybe you've been judged in the past and how that made you feel. I know I've been judged before, and there's one time, I think back now to my 20s, I had a job interview with British Airways for cabin crew. So we walked in the room, there was a lot of people there that day. We were taken into a room, and the first thing we had to do was be weighed. They did our height and they took a photo, and if you passed that stage, then basically you were interviewed for the job. And I just felt really judged that day, like they're doing all this before they even speak to me. They don't know who I am, where I'm from, and all they're worried about really is my height and my weight and what I look like. So that's sort of a story of when I felt judged. So there's two things to take away from today. The first thing, to let God do the judging of people, not us. Be careful, because it's so easy to judge people. And the second point, how can we be faithful and obedient like Mary Magdalene? So seeking God first in all things and doing what God's asked us to do. Mary Magdalene is an amazing example, and this story explains that.